Hey guys, and welcome to another video. Today I'll be showing you how to make a paper butterfly knife or Balisong from CSGO. This is what I would consider an improved version look-wise compared to some of my older paper butterfly knife videos, but it's not necessarily easier or harder to make. For this tutorial, there will be tools and materials that's optional which can be used to possibly achieve the best result, and also tools and materials that are a must for this build, but still can be improvised or replaced with other things that are similar. This can also be applied to the methods of making the knife, and some steps can be improvised accordingly to how your knife turned out. The items you need for this build are liquid glue, crafting knife, a ruler, and 110 pounds or 180 GSM A4 cardstock. More information will be in the description below for other tools you can use. Some other optional items to have which can be very useful are wet and dry cloth, cutting mats, pencil or pen, and scissors, as well as a drill. You may also be needing colorings if you want to put a skin or a look on your knife, and clear glossy spray if you want it to last longer and have a shinier look. You also need something to help spread the glue out, in which I just used a piece of Harden paper. So if you have these, then we're ready to go. You want to start off by folding a piece of paper in half, then put glue in it and spread it out. After you've glued the paper, you want to use your ruler and run across it so that there aren't any air bubbles, and wipe the excess glue with a wet cloth. Just make sure it's not too wet to ruin the paper, and you will want to make 6 of these. After you've made 6 of these, you then want to glue 2 of them together like so, and the other 4 together, so that you have 2 sheets of paper where one is 4 layers thick and the other one is 2 layers thick. And once you've done that, wipe it with a wet cloth and leave it under some heavy books for more than 24 hours to dry. Do note that you may have to leave it under for a bit longer according to the temperature and humidity of your room. The waiting time can also depend on the type of glue you used, as some glue dry faster than others. Once that's dry, you want to print the template, which can be downloaded from the link in the description. If you're interested in how I made the template, I'll put the link for it in the info card on the top right. With the template, you want to cut it into 2 different sections like so, then glue the blade section and the other section onto the 2 layers thick thinner sheet of paper, and the handle with the rest on the 4 layers thicker sheet of paper. Make sure you leave the big gap on the 2 layers thick thinner sheet of paper as shown here, and leave those under some heavy books for around another 12 hours to dry. And once that's dry, you can start cutting. A few tips for cutting is don't try and cut the entire sheet of hardened paper in one go. Just go through the same cut multiple times, especially around curved areas. You may also go a bit outside the line, as you can fix it up later. This is the main part where you have to be patient and committed, so try not to rush it, as it does take a while to cut. You can choose to cut out all of the pieces in one go, or cut specific pieces before continuing. I chose to cut specific pieces as I get bored doing all the same thing. One thing that is important is when you're not using a piece for a while, whether it's cut or uncut, just make sure you leave it under heavy books to prevent it from bending. So I chose to cut out the blades first, because you do need a bit of gluing for those, so that when I'm waiting for it to dry, I can move on to cutting the handles out.
It's all you and me. We'll kiss the sky goodnight. Just run away with me, darling. We'll get real lost. We'll get real lost again. Just run away with me, darling. We'll get real lost. We'll get real lost again.
After you've cut out the 5 different pieces of the blade, give the center blade or the biggest piece out for now, and then glue the smaller piece with the other 2 pieces. You know it's the right 2 pieces when the bottom section of the blade looks like this when placed together. After you've applied the glue, you will need to apply pressure to the 2 pieces for around another 12 hours. And to do that, I use popsicle sticks and paper clamps to help the pieces stay together as shown.
I know where we can go, where the sunrise lasts forever, and it's all you and me. We'll
While that's drying, you can move on to cutting the handles out. This sheet of hardened paper is a lot thicker than before, so my advice before not trying to cut it in one go applies even more here.
Come get lost with me. Just run away with me, darling. We'll get real lost. We'll get real lost again. Just run away with me, darling. We'll get real lost. We'll get real lost again.
Once you've finished cutting out the handles, and the blade is also dry, you will now want to drill the holes labeled in the template. The drill size will be determined by the size of the connector you're using. For this build, I'm using paper clips, but you can use toothpicks or Q-tip stick. If you don't have a drill, this will be a lot harder to do, but it's still doable with a nail or pen or anything sharp to poke a hole through slowly. After cutting out the rest of the pieces, you can now start applying a skin to the build if you choose to do so. The look I went with is a marble fade skin, and I used watercolor pencil to color in the knife and a black marker to color in the handle. Once you've painted it, you can also apply clear glossy spray paint over it to make it more sturdy and give it a shinier look. After all of the pieces are painted and glued, then you can take your connector pin you're using. In my case, I'm using paper clip like mentioned before, and cut out 4 pieces that fits the 4 holes correctly. Make sure the pieces is not too short once the handles go on. Also, be sure to use another 2 similar length pin pieces at the bottom of the handle as well. After you've gotten the correct size pins for each hole, you can start by gluing the 2 smaller pieces that doesn't require movements on the blade as shown. Make sure you level it correctly so that the pin dry at the right length. So in my case, I place paper at the end so that it's leveled and a paper clip under the blade as well so it doesn't push the pin all the way back in as shown. Once you've glued both sides and are dry, you can move on to gluing the handles onto the blade using the pins. Just like before, you want to place a few supports between the 2 handles so that it's leveled when drying. And first start by gluing the pin that connects the handle to the blade as shown. After you've done both sides, you can move on to gluing the pins at the bottom of the handle and start to cut out your latch if you haven't already. In this template, the latch doesn't really work and you will see why in the finished product, but if you made your own latch, this would be the time to attach it. Once all of that is dry and the handle still feels flimsy, then you want to do the next step as well. Use one of the Harden papers, whether it's the thinner one or the thicker one. In my case, I realized I didn't need to use a thicker sheet of paper despite having the massive space available. And what you want to do is take the measurement of the handle from the points shown in the video and cut out small stripes of Harden paper to be used as support that glues on the outside of the blade when it's in the closed position as shown. When gluing, you want to start from the point where the blade can still turn, leaving a gap at the close point between the blade and the handle as shown. When you glue it on, you want to hold it for at least 2 minutes to let the glue dry a bit before moving on to the other handle. Once you've done that, let it dry for another 30 minutes. After that, I gave it a final coat of glossy spray paint to keep it hardened. From here, you can see the latch I made keep hitting the tip of the knife, thus the blade was unable to spin properly, so I removed it. And now you're finished. If you enjoyed this video, give it a like and share, and consider subscribing for more content in the future. And leave a comment below on what I should make next and what more you want to see from this channel. Sorry about my very poor upload schedules. I actually made this video a year ago, but I just never found the time or the motivation to actually finish editing it. And also I have a new Discord server since my last Discord server died after I lost my Discord account due to two-factor authentication. And yeah, thank you for watching. Peace out.